important for the course like Science of Happiness. I'm sure many of you are facing the question when others ask you that why have you taken. Am I audible to each one of you, Vidisha?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I just wanted to confirm. So many of you might be having this question, why we are studying the science of happiness. What is the fun in studying it in engineering institutes like IIT Kharagpur? And is it something different from what mother says, that be happy? I think we have a lot of misconceptions, we have a lot of myths, we have a lot of notions which probably are not true reflections. I'll not tell them miscalculation or wrong. I'll simply tell all of you that the scientific temper of the emotion called happiness has never been reflected in literature that is available in Art of Happiness. Well, remember, we are not going to talk to you about Art of Happiness. This country has got no dearth of people who will talk to you about Art of Happiness. There are people who will, I don't try to dissuade you or object to their principles. I simply wanted to say that, well, Science of Happiness has a different purpose. And it's very important for all of you to understand that what is that purpose? How is it different? Now, when we talk about practice or art of happiness, it's all about how you become happy. I'm not sure if my mother says be happy, I become happy or not. Or if someone pushes me to be happy, probably I'll be unhappy much more than what I am right now. So the scientific temper behind it, the notion of happiness, is that if it is a science, it must be a replicable phenomenon. So if I know what happiness is all about and the basic principles of it, then we should be able to percolate the message to masses and everybody should be able to be happy in the process. If paracetamol as a medicine gets rid of your fever, then it must be helping each and every person in the world, because that's the scientific notion. So you can replicate paracetamol in case you have got fever anywhere in the world. So if happiness is a phenomenon, which is like another human behavior, if there is a science behind it, we should be able to make everyone happy. So the idea behind this course is to make sure what are those principles of happiness that can be generalized, and in the process we should be able to make people happy. And I can tell you one of my recent experience where I have found that children who are impoverished, not getting enough food, or having some kind of handicap because of their, genetically conditioned disease, they are happier as compared to normally able children, or normally, that we see on everyday life, who are not impoverished, to get enough of food, who get enough of everything, yet they don't smile. So the question is, what is that insight in us that make us happy? We'll raise many questions. I don't give any answer in my classes. I raise mostly as questions. So 80% of my talk would be questions. Only 20% of what has been found in the research I will try to percolate the message amongst you. So the idea behind having argument and putting forward scientific questions is the hallmark of what I'm going to talk to you. Therefore, my talk will not be theoretically driven. It's rather atheoretical, and I'll try to see happiness through a scientific lens, which will allow me to understand the process behind, not the outcome. I may see somebody happy, somebody not happy, somebody may be very happy, but not having anything in hand. Somebody who is extremely hungry, never get food, good food. If you give him food for the time being, good food, they start smiling. So outcome probably doesn't let us know how happy the person is. The process is more important. So I gave you the example of paracetamol, a scientific principle based on which the molecule has been derived or devised or synthetically produced, is the understanding of the process behind why people are happy. So when we talk about art of happiness, we talk about the expressions of it, how we see people happy. But when we talk about the science behind it, we tell the process. So process and outcome are two different things. With these notions, I'll also tell you why we want you, especially those in hard sciences, natural sciences, including life sciences and engineering sciences, why this science of happiness is so important. But you will have to wait for some more time. In the sense, some more slides before I actually draw your attention to that level. What I found, as I told you, my idea of talking to all of you is to raise more questions rather than giving answers. And none of my pointer slides are drawn from any source, either from internet or from book or from print media, nowhere. Therefore, try to follow what I am trying to let you know, and then utilize your own knowledge and experience and put your weight behind the thought process so that it becomes a science of its own, having good mind, having intellectual mind, flourishing to its best. Why I am saying, right now I said that we are interested in having a scientific principles so that we can replicate these principles amongst the masses. And right now I just put forward a contradictory message that you put forward your mind so that you get your specific derivative out of this emotion happiness. Why? Because though it is a science of happiness as a course, we know this course is not content based. This is context based. There's a fundamental difference between content based and context based. That is, you have a syllabus, you have a template, but the template is nothing but having some, it's like a software. It gives you some indication how to think about this particular construct called happiness. So the context is very important rather than content. So we are not overtly very interested in what is that content or in this syllabus. We are more interested in the context. Likewise, we are more interested in your view about the life rather than your view about the career. The reason is that the understanding of happiness as part of your life will give you a horizontal thought process. In our primary subject of interest or specialization, we try to think everything vertically because we try to focus more and more on what we have been studying. But at some point of time, we have to also think not vertically, horizontally as well. This subject matter will give you a horizontal thought process. And it will give you more argument and questions rather than answers. And that's the beauty of the course. So my first question is whether it is a science or practice. It's an unknown territory. Does science explain happiness? I mean, I'm not going to answer you straight away, but I would expect you to have some kind of discussion at some point of time. That is it only experiential? That is the practice of happiness, or it is explainable, it is explanatory as well, like any other science, that you can explain why some people are happy and why some people are not happy. Why happiness is part of our survival mechanism. Suppose if we do not have happiness, then what kind of emotion are we will be left with? Fight and flight. Either you fight or you flee. So question is, what kind of explanatory mechanism I can offer, a scientific explanatory mechanism I can offer for the experience of happiness. My next question is whether it is a genotype or phenotype. Do we have a gene for happiness? Why some people are happy always? Even at great difficulties, you will see them smiling. Do we have a gene for that? In fact, I'll teach about a course on the biology of belief. That why your belief system and not particularly your genetic endowment will actually determine your behavioral outcome. So maybe 2 or 3 classes later, I'll be giving you some idea about this genetics of happiness. That is, we have a gene for happiness. Then my next question is whether it is a process or an outcome. Why do we feel happy? As I put forward this question to you, that if it is only outcome based, then we'll see some people are happy, some people are not happy. But if it is a process, we'll get to know even if some people are not shown their happiness, internally they are very happy people. So whether it is a process or it's an outcome, it's a question. When actually do we feel happy? I'll raise this question and the question will come in terms of the notion of whether it is a memory or a moment. Maybe another 1 or 2 slides later, I'll tell you this point. Whether it is a memory or a moment. If it is a moment, it's an outcome. If it is a memory, it's a process. Then comes whether it is thinking or blinking. That is, happiness is part of our logic, reason, understanding, orientation, or it is a process of our feeling, emotion, color, peace, calmness, comfort, and so on and so forth. So, a lot of people argue that, well, it's a kind of emotion. But we argue that by becoming happy, why we become so innovative? Why innovative and intuitive people are happy always? We'll argue in favor of that. And finally, whether happiness comes from our mind or our mindset. Now, mind and mindset are two different things. We all have got beautiful mind, but we all differ in our mindset. Mindset is a sort of predisposition to find some kind of explanation for what you see in front of you. So mindset is about your predisposed mind. So you may say mind is our raw material and mindset is our finished product. That is, how I want to behave is already a template, a schema, a software is ingrained into our mind, and that takes a decision rather than mind. So when we say what sort of world is this, recently I was teaching in University of Pennsylvania on this issue, and we have raised a very important question, that why majority of the people in the world say that, well, this world is dangerous, difficult. I mean, the orientation is more towards negativities. About 70% of the people have been found, empirically done research. 30% of the people say that, no, this world is good, livable, and I mean, we enjoy our life in this world. In fact, worldwide survey has been done on this issue and done by United Nations. And United Nations have done it in order to replace GDP with the index of happiness. United Nations now say that gross domestic product or economic parameters cannot give you I mean, livable conditions or your happiness inside in your governance. Therefore, they say that today, if you have to prove that you are a developed nation, you have to make sure that you have got that index of happiness. So it has been found majority of the people perceive this world as negative, while some people perceive it as positive and some people perceive it as negative. Is it a product of mind or mindset? So these are the certain questions. Now, the syllabus that you have will try to answer some of these questions. Once again, as I said, I'll raise more questions rather than giving answers. My first question, can money buy happiness? Now, just 1 second, please. Yeah, I'm taking a class. I'll get back to you after some time now. Okay. Can money buy happiness? So the question is, if I have got enough money, will I be happy enough? Now, the photograph that you see is of Daniel Kahneman, who is a Nobel laureate. In 2004, he got the Nobel Prize on the basic question on can money buy happiness. We found that enough money will not get you happiness. At the same time, you need some money to become happy. And at the same time, not having money will not make you sad. There are several such predispositions, and we'll get to know about it. Next question. Are we naturally happy or hardwired to focus more on negative thoughts? Now, Time magazine has come up with a special issue on the science of happiness. And they have been, it has been found that, as I just said, that 70% of the people are found to be more negatively oriented, predisposed to some kind of negativities. 70% of the people. Question is, are we hardwired for negative things? Evolutionary psychologists or people like Charles Darwin, I mean, you may wonder that Charles Darwin came up with a book in 1872 on the expressions of emotions in man and animal, where he said that emotions are very basic for our survival. And negative emotions are more important simply because that helps us survive. So if you see a tiger, you will flee. or if you see an enemy who is going to kill you, you will fight. So fight and flight are basic, and probably they have come before our intellectual capability. I mean, there are explanations about it, but there are issues regarding whether we are hardwired for happiness or we are hardwired for negative thoughts. As of now, the evidence suggests that probably we are more inclined towards negative thoughts simply because the brain has got two parts. Upper part is called neocortex, lower part is called limbic cortex, limbic system. The limbic system, which came up first, are the system which reacts first to all kinds of negative thoughts. But the upper part of the brain came up later, which inhibits the negative thought and also brings you some degree of happiness. Although we could not find a single center in the brain which can actually produce happiness in you by several studies, electrophysiological studies, magnetoencephalographic studies, and several other studies have been done, and we could not find a very specific center for happiness. But we have found very specific center for negative emotions, but not for positive emotion. Third question is, why do we repent more often on hypothetical missed opportunity? Why do we feel, particularly I'm referring to our students, that anything that we do, and then the moment we have a failure, we fail to do it, we believe that probably we have not taken a good decision. Why does this happen? Does it preempt you towards negativities or negative thought orientation? Does it help you to bring happiness? Or is it a false notion which creates some kind of damaging impact on our capability? And since I was talking about, do we have a gene about happiness, I'll actually take a class on biology of belief. That what is the biology behind it? Why our belief system is so important? If you are negatively oriented, why your system gets damaged and why you live less. Scientific literature suggests that happy people survive 2 to 3 years more as compared to unhappy people. More dichotomies, more such questions. As I told you in the first slide, is it a memory or a moment? So when you actually become very happy, is it a moment like Indian cricket team after winning the World Cup? Is it the moment that gave them happiness, or is the memory? Now, I'm not going to challenge that either it would be memory or it would be moment. I'm simply trying to tell you happiness, if you have to put a temporal priority of memory and moment, which will come first? Memory gives you more happiness or moment gives you more happiness? It's a question, and that question, as I said, Daniel Kahneman got Nobel Prize on this controversy, memory or moment. He says that the market is driven, the whole world, the market is, because he got Nobel Prize on behavior economics, market is driven by moment. The moment you purchase something, the moment you get something, the moment you get an offer, the moment you receive something. So it's the moment which is very important. But there are opponents to his theories as well. Happiness theories, typical happiness theories, those who are not in economics, they say that it's more about the memory. So we have controversies for that. Then comes the question whether it is a thought or a belief. Now, thought is different from belief. Belief is something which is with us since beginning. And thought is something which is based on reason. So, if I do something, suppose somebody offering prayer in River Ganga, invoking God, anybody can question me, did you see God? Or has anybody seen God? So why do I do this? Is it a belief or is it a reason? Now, literature suggests that the belief can actually change your system, thought. And belief is so embedded and ingrained that it can even change your thought process. It can create a mindset for you. But thought is also something which is based on reason. And reasoning is more important in our happiness, or belief is more important in our happiness. Then comes the question of affluence versus autonomy. That is, whether you have, suppose you have got a lot of money, affluence, lot of money. You can actually buy anything that you like. Whether it is the affluence that makes you happy, or whether it is the autonomy that makes you happy. Autonomy means I may be having little, but I have the autonomy to use it whenever I do like. Suppose I have got a lot of money, but I can't use it whenever I would like to. But if I have got less of money, but then I can use that money whenever I would like to. What makes you more happy? Let me give you an example of a food. Suppose I have got enough money, I can purchase any food, but I cannot take any sugary food because I have got blood sugar. So I have got affluence, but I do not have autonomy. And on the contrary, I can purchase some sweets, not all the time, sometimes kabhi kavar, but I can take it, consume it whenever I would like because I do not have sugar problem. So this is the fundamental difference between affluence and autonomy. What makes you happy, autonomy or affluence? And then another question is whether it is a choice or a compulsion. Affluence and autonomy, of course, I forgot to give you the example of this man. I inquired about his well-being because he used to stay close to my house. Some rickshawalas as well. I asked them this question: if you get money, will you pull rickshaw throughout the night because you are getting more and more money? You get double the money if you pull the rickshaw in the middle of the night, because I used to come somewhere from some place. He says that no, sir, I would not like to pull rickshaw after 9 o'clock because I have to take dinner with my family. Question is, he preferred his autonomy and not an affluence. Hello, Belisha. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Now you are getting it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now you are audible.
Okay, because there is some problem in the connectivity. So I'm audible and you can see the slides, huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So somebody should keep responding to my queries because I'm in no position to understand whether I'm getting you or not. Anyway, my last question is whether it is a choice or a compulsion. Some people say that I can be happy whenever I would like, and some people say that no, it's a compulsion. Now, my question is, if it is a choice, then I can be happy at any point of time. But then why so many people are unhappy in this world? Or is it a compulsion? Whether compulsion makes my choice happier? Now I have shown you the photograph. The photograph is a photograph of a couple from Ukraine, not about this war. Some 3 months back, this news had come at Yahoo. So I took this, picture from that story and would like to give you this example. This girl and boy, they decided to marry each other after having a courtship of roughly 3 years. And immediately after marriage, they found there are some differences in opinions and they wanted to separate. Now then they decide that why is it so that immediately after marriage we found a lot of unhappiness amongst us. They decided to compel themselves to be happy. So they handcuffed each other. I mean, the girl's right hand and the boy's left hand, something of that sort. I mean, or left hand of both. I'm not very sure about it. I think the girl's right hand and the boy's left hand. They handcuffed each other and remained 123 days on that handcuff. You will not imagine. The story came in big way. They even used to go to washroom and have their personal hygiene, having that handcuff, because the key of the handcuff was thrown in the sea. So after 123 days, they decided to, free themselves, because they believe that by having that kind of physically possible togetherness, they should, cut off this handcuff. They did it ultimately. And I don't know the story thereafter, because 3 months back I got this news and I took that image for your classes. Point I'm trying to make here, I don't know what really has happened, whether that compulsion made them happy or not. My question is whether it is a choice or it is a compulsion. So people tell me, mothers always tell me, people tell me, be happy, khush raho beta. Question is, can happiness be compelled? Question is it a choice? Now, if it can be compelled, then some people would have been happy in the process. And if it is a choice, the question rises why so many people are unhappy. So we do not have a direct answer today. Point is that these are important dichotomies in the science of happiness. Then the question comes whether it is hopefulness or helplessness. People are happy because they are hopeful. Some people are always happy because difficulties come in everybody's life. Nobody is spared in this world. Everybody will face some difficulty. Therefore, why some people remain hopeful and some people remain helpless? Even with smallest difficulty, they find themselves helpless. So I would suggest you to read the book on the Hope Circuit. It's by the father of positive psychology, who has written this book, Martin E.P. Seligman. He is a distinguished professor in the University of Pennsylvania. And since I was also teaching there some time back, I had the opportunity to work with him. And I know the essence of his theory on hope. Why hope helps us survive. So what is that makes some people helpless, some people hopeful? My next question is whether happiness comes from personal control or negotiable fate. Personal control means if you can control everything that you have in hand, that will give you happiness. Or if you believe in God, that, well, nothing is in my control, I'll only believe in God, that will give you more happiness. So negotiable fate means I believe in God, good or bad, I depend on him or her. Personal control means I have got control for everything, right from medicine to doctor to money to resource, my fame, everything I have got control. I think there's a huge cultural difference between these two phenomena. Americans, Westerners believe that happiness comes from personal control. We, the Orientals, the people who are in the eastern zone of the world, they believe more about the negotiable fate. We believe in God. They also believe in God. We believe that whatever is happening with me, that's negotiable. I mean, That's my fate. And that has come to me because of karma. So the point is personal control or negotiable fate. What gives us more happiness? Then comes betweenness versus withinness. Happiness comes from betweenness. That is, when I meet someone, then I become happy. Or when I remain within myself, that makes me happy. The question is, if I am within, then I am egocentric. If I am between, then I am ecocentric. So whether egocentricity and ecocentricity, which one gives us more happiness? A question. And that must be answered by social scientists, that whether withinness gives you more happiness, whether betweenness gives us more happiness. I have found huge cultural difference. Westerners become very happy when they are alone, withinness. But we believe in relationship, our social fabric. So we live together. I mean, the picture that you see, they may have married for last 50 years. Even I got married 39 years back. The question is, the betweenness gives us more happiness or withinness. And finally, reciprocal othering versus mutual valuing. Mutual valuing is more important or reciprocal othering, which gives us more happiness. Human brain has a tendency to categorize things, polarize things. Anything that you see, you try to polarize at good or bad. So when you have got this primal belief of good or bad, you always see others as bad, and those who are seen as bad, they also see us as bad. This is called reciprocal othering. But the other phenomenon is mutual valuing. Mutual valuing means when we value each other, whatever be your goodness or badness, what gives us more happiness? The brain says that no, you must categorize them for your benefit of decision making, that they are bad, we are good. Or if you value everybody as the same, then you are de-individuated. Your identity is lost. So whether identity gives you more happiness or integrity gives you more happiness, whether reciprocal othering gives you more happiness or mutual valuing gives you more happiness, is a fundamental question, scientific question. And why brain does so? Why brain is so unkind to us? Why brain categorizes things as good and bad? Can we overcome that? So we have this Rekhi Center for the Science of Happiness to answer these questions. And the Science of Happiness as a center, we have decided that it would be a science of insight, awareness, and innovation. And it should not be a science of calmness, peace, or comfort. We do not want an art of happiness. We would like you to be happy, but we would like it to be happy through a different mechanism. By developing more awareness, more insight, more innovative. The reason is very simple. We have found that happy people's mental aperture is always higher, always bigger and better as compared to unhappy people. If you are unhappy, your mental aperture would be squeezed. So, point is, if your mental aperture is squeezed, you will not be able to see the horizon of knowledge. So it's not just about getting some peace, entertainment, comfort, kind of thing by studying happiness. The studying happiness is how to broaden your insight, how to make you more innovative, how to make you more oriented, how to help your awareness grow for the others, not only for yourself. So it's a process, not simply a target to achieve. We're told that it's not an outcome, it's a process. So happiness is a process, it's not simply a target to achieve. It's not a destination, it's a journey. So happy people remain happy. They do not base themselves on outcome. So it's not simply a target to achieve. And it's a systematic knowledge to create happiness for others within constraint. That is the purpose of teaching you happiness, simply because that you should be able to create happiness for others. And within the constraints, within the difficulties that you have, not that you are, whenever you are happy, then only you will make others happy. We cannot be happy all the time. We can be happy for some time. And if you want to make others happy during that for some time, then probably nobody will be happy in the process. So you must understand how to create happiness for others within constraint. The reason is very simple, that when you make others happy, they in turn make you happy. So your constraint can be overcome by creating that kind of happiness for the people otherwise. So our focus in happiness is that it broadens our intellectual, social, and emotional resource. Idea is to enhance your resource. You have your intellectual resource already, but this intellectual resource must be broadened and widened, not focusing just about what you have been studying. Your social relationship, your betweenness must enlarge. You must be connected to people. You must not only have a network, you should have a network of networks. And your emotional resource must be very high, because you need to create happiness for others. Think of someone who is not happy, and if you can make them happy, you will find enough happiness for yourself. Remember, it's a misconception that when you receive a gift, you become happy. When you purchase a gift for someone, you become 10 times more happier. So it's a resource, and that resource must be flourished, must not languish. It works as a driver for innovation and as a social quality for community growth. You see, community growth is so important. And by helping each other, you see, a lot of entrepreneurs, why they are coming, they are intellectually so superior. From now Western countries, going to the villages, trying to make sure that through their innovation, they can make people's life happy. They can increase the earnings of the poor people 10 times in the process. So their aim, by having this happiness through innovative mechanism, they bring power to fight poverty. They help sustain health. That is, by having your knowledge in scientific area like biomedical engineering, a lot of people, this country never used to even produce a sphygmomanometer, which is required to listen for your heartbeat. Today we have been doing it because we are becoming a happier lot. And strength to the weak, because economically down people are getting stronger, becoming stronger, because you are making them happy. Now, this happiness is not about smiling. This happiness is about the process, that in a process, you are helping the community to grow. So it also helps grow the science with a transdisciplinary approach. Transdisciplinary means it's not a science coming from humanities and social science. I'll tell you why happiness is a science for genetics. I'll tell you why all through my last 15 years I spent in DRDO. I mean, having all kinds of technologies around. I'll give you a complete list of people, how our defense technologies actually brought changes in the lives of the people. Even Dr. Kalam worked on the stent that we purchased for, some kind of heart ailment. I mean, and not only that, even artificial bones. Today, people are getting all these through 3D printing mechanism. So, medical science, engineering science, biomedical engineering, cross-disciplinary sciences, everybody is contributing to the field of happiness with a deliverable outcome. And if this happiness is just not to retain happiness within you, you should be able to deliver. So that deliverability is very important. So the domains, when I say transdisciplinary domain, what do we study? Evolution and brain. You see, Charles Darwin in 1872 has written the book on the expression of emotions in man and animal. He talked about happiness as well. How brain has evolved and at what point we got happiness. It's a transdisciplinary science, optimism and optimism bias. Why optimism bias creates more problems for us and why optimism, that is hopefulness, is so important. How machine intelligence and emotional intelligence are joining hands. We all know about emotional intelligence. That if you are not emotionally intelligent, emotional intelligence is nothing but betweenness, as I just referred to. It's about betweenness. How machine intelligence and emotional intelligence can join hands. How affect could be computed. And synthetic empathy can be understood through computer vision. Well, these are certain things which are researchable points. We have been doing various projects on these subject matters, not directly in your syllabus, but we have been doing it. So that's the transdisciplinary domain we have. Sensing and communicating, that how we communicate happiness, how we sense it, and then how we communicate to it. Mindfulness, Dr. Chetri has been, trying last 5 years to help each one of us to understand what mindfulness is all about. And he is helping us to sense ourselves, our sense of empathy, and how we can communicate happiness. It's about resilience and vision. So, how we develop resilience through the understanding science of happiness. And this resilience is your ability to bounce back. You might be wondering why this photograph has been given. This photograph has been given to help you understand people who have actually been selected, the last 24%, the best 24% out of 2.5 lakh people, that why they have been chosen to go to Mars with a one-way ticket. They will never come back. But what is their vision? How they have developed this vision? We have found they are not going for a suicidal mission. They are going for a scientific mission with the knowledge that they will never come back. Why some people develop resilience and they know how to fight back rather than others who are down even with a small failure. How you can build assistive technology to make people happy. So making and becoming, you are happy, but can you develop some technologies which can help a autistic child, which can help a learning disordered child, which can help a cerebral palsy child? You know, this country has got over 6 crore people who cannot avoid structural barrier because of their disabilities. It's the technology can only help them. And India and abroad, that is, we are considered to be a very unhappy country by the UN report, United Nations. Are we really so? In one of the classes, probably you will get to know about all these things. Why we have been perceived as unhappy. Probably the reason I have already spoken to you. Because Westerners, those who actually conduct the study, they believe that the living conditions or preconditions make people happy. But we believe, no, our happiness probably lies in our social order and connectivity. So, we have our own set of priorities. Our priority is integrity over identity. Our priority is discipline in life over flexibility of choice. Our priority is autonomy, the way I would like to live, rather than affluence of resources. And our happiness comes from sacrifice to the greater collective goal over material gain. So we enjoy more sacrifice rather than getting something. I told you, offering somebody, giving food to somebody gives you greater happiness rather than consuming food for yourself for whatever little biological need you have. So the vision of the center, Rekhi Center, I didn't get any opportunity earlier to give you all this notion, so I thought I'll give you all this. Insight for yourself, awareness about others. That's what we want to build. Sustain your positive feeling and adapt to stressful experience. That's our vision. Betweenness with interpersonal skill and withenness to develop wisdom is our vision, and enable the weak and evolve with a sense of satisfaction, because we must also be happy in the process. So you enable the weak, even if you are not happy, you will find that you are getting more and more satisfaction. So with all this, that's the final point I want to make, that moment is important, but memories last forever. So you experience more and more memories if you can, so that it becomes a permanent asset in your life that will actually impact your whole understanding, orientation, innovativeness, why we should help others, why we should try to bring more cheers in the face of others. That's all. Thank you so much. If there is any question, I can answer.